Hello children, how are you? I hope you all are hale and hearty. Well, I am Satinder Kaur and today I will be taking up lesson 6 from the book Democratic Politics for class 10. And the name of the lesson is Political Parties. Children, political parties play an important role in democratic politics. In this lesson, we shall talk about the nature and working of political parties. We shall begin by asking two questions. First question is, why do we need political parties? And how many political parties are good for a democracy? We shall also talk about various political parties and discuss the challenges faced by these parties. But before we do that, let's understand what a political party is. So, a political party is a group of people who come together to contest elections and hold power in the government. They agree on some policies and programs for the society with a view to promote the collective good. Since there can be different views on what is good for all, parties try to persuade people why their policies are better than others. They seek to implement these policies by winning popular support through elections. Thus, parties reflect fundamental political divisions in a society. Parties are about a part of the society and thus involve partisanship. Thus, a party is known by which part it stands for, which policies it supports, and whose interests it upholds. Children, partisan means a person who is strongly committed to a party, group, or faction. Partisanship is marked by a tendency to take a side and inability to take a balanced view on an issue. A political party has three main components, that is, the leaders, the active members, and the followers. Now, why do we need political parties? Political parties are easily one of the most visible institutions in a democracy. For most ordinary citizens, democracy is equal to political parties. If you travel to remote parts of our country and speak to the less educated citizens, you could come across people who may not know anything about our constitution or about the nature of our government, but chances are that they would know something about our political parties. At the same time, this visibility does not mean popularity. Most people tend to be very critical of political parties. They tend to blame parties for all that is wrong with our democracy and our political life. Parties have become identified with social and political divisions. Therefore, it is natural to ask, do we need political parties at all? About 100 years ago, there were few countries of the world that had any political party. Now, there are few that do not have parties. Why did political parties become so omnipresent in democracies all over the world? Let's understand what political parties do. Basically, political parties fill political offices and exercise political power. Parties do so by performing a series of functions. First, parties contest elections. In most democracies, elections are fought mainly among the candidates put up by political parties. Parties select their candidates in different ways. In some countries such as the USA, members and supporters of a party choose its candidate. Now, more and more countries are following this method. In other countries like India, top party leaders choose candidates for contesting elections. Second, parties put forward different policies and programs, and the voters choose from them. Each of us may have different opinions and views on what policies are suitable for the society, but no government can handle such a large variety of views. In a democracy, a large number of similar opinions have to be grouped together to provide a direction in which policies can be formulated by the governments. This is what the parties do. A political party reduces a vast multitude of opinions into a few basic positions which it supports. A government is expected to base its policies on the lines taken by the ruling party. Parties play a decisive role in making laws for a country. Formally, laws are debated and passed in the legislature. But since most of the members belong to a party, they go by the direction of the party leadership, irrespective of their personal opinions. Next, parties form and run governments. As we noted last year, the big policy decisions are taken by political executive that comes from the political parties. Parties recruit leaders, train them, and then make them ministers to run the government in the way they want. Those parties that lose the elections play the role of opposition to the parties in power by voicing different views and criticizing government for its failures or wrong policies. Opposition parties also mobilize opposition to the government. Next, parties shape public opinion. They raise and highlight issues. Parties have lakhs of members and activists spread all over the country. Many of the pressure groups are the extensions of political parties among different sections of society. Parties sometimes also launch movements for the resolution of problems faced by people. Often, opinions in the society crystallize on the lines the parties take. Next, parties provide people access to government machinery and welfare schemes implemented by governments. For an ordinary citizen, it is easy to approach a local party leader than a government officer. That is why they feel close to parties even when they do not fully trust them. Parties have to be responsive to people's needs and demands. Otherwise, people can reject those parties in the next elections. This list of functions, in a sense, answers the question asked earlier. We need political parties because they perform all these functions. But we still need to ask why modern democracies cannot exist without political parties. We can understand the necessity of political parties by imagining a situation without parties. Every candidate in the elections will be independent, so no one will be able to make any promises to the people about any major policy changes. The government may be formed, but its utility will remain ever uncertain. Elected representatives will be accountable to their constituency for what they do in the locality, but no one will be responsible for how the country will be run. We can also think about it by looking at the non-party based elections to the panchayat in many states. Although the parties do not contest formally, it is generally noticed that the village gets split into more than one faction, each of which puts up a panel of its candidates. This is exactly what the party does. That is the reason we find political parties in almost all countries of the world, whether these countries are big or small, old or new, developed or developing. The rise of political parties is directly linked to the emergence of representative democracies. As we have seen, large societies need representative democracy. As societies became large and complex, they also needed some agency to gather different views on various issues and to present these to the government. They needed some ways to bring various representatives together so that a responsible government could be formed. They needed a mechanism to support or restrain the government, make policies, justify or oppose them. Political parties fulfill these needs that every representative government has. We can say that parties are a necessary condition for a democracy. Children, in a democracy, any group of citizens is free to form a political party. In this formal sense, there are a large number of political parties in each country. More than 750 parties are registered with the Election Commission of India. But not all these parties are serious contenders in the elections. Usually, only a handful of parties are effectively in the race to win elections and form the government. So the question then is, how many major or effective parties are good for a democracy? Or how many parties should we have? In some countries, only one party is allowed to control and run the government. These are called one-party systems. Children, in class 9, you must have noted that in China, only the Communist Party is allowed to rule. Although, legally speaking, people are free to form political parties, it does not happen because the electoral system does not permit free competition for power. We cannot consider one-party system as a good option because this is not a democratic option. Any democratic system must allow at least two parties to compete in elections and provide a fair chance for competing parties to come to power. In some countries, power usually changes between two main parties. Several other parties may exist, contest elections and win a few seats in the national legislatures. But only the two main parties have a serious chance of winning majority of seats to form government. Such a party system is called two-party system. The United States of America and the United Kingdom are examples of two-party system. If several parties compete for power and more than two parties have a reasonable chance of coming to power either on their own strength or in alliance with others, we call it a multi-party system. Thus, in India, we have a multi-party system. In this system, the government is formed by various parties coming together in a coalition. When several parties in a multi-party system join hands for the purpose of contesting elections and winning power, it is called an alliance or a front. For example, in India, there were three such major alliances in 2004 parliamentary elections: the National Democratic Alliance, the United Progressive Alliance, and the Left Front. The multi-party system often appears very messy and leads to political instability. At the same time, this system allows a variety of interests and opinions to enjoy political representation. So, which of these is better? Perhaps the best answer to this very common question is that this is not a very good question. Party system is not something any country can choose. It evolves over a long time depending on the nature of society, its social and regional divisions, its history of politics, and its system of elections. These cannot be changed very quickly. Each country develops a party system that is conditioned by its special circumstances. For example, if India has evolved a multi-party system, it is because the social and geographical diversity in such a large country is not easily absorbed by 2 or even 3 parties. No system is ideal for all countries and all situations. Now, let us apply what we have learnt about party systems to the various states within India. Here are 3 major types of party systems that exist at the state level. That is, two-party system, multi-party system with 2 alliances, or multi-party system. Now, you have to find out which of these 3 systems exists in your state, and I'm sure you will be able to do that. Children, it is often said that political parties are facing a crisis because they are very unpopular and the citizens are indifferent to political parties. The available evidence shows that this belief is only partly true for India. The evidence, based on a series of large sample surveys conducted over several decades, shows that political parties do not enjoy much trust among the people in South Asia. The proportion of those who say their trust in political parties is not much or not at all is more than those who have some or great trust. The same is true of most other democracies as well. Political parties are one of the least trusted institutions all over the world. Yet, the level of participation in the activities of political parties was fairly high. The proportion of those who said they were members of some political parties was higher in India than many advanced countries like Canada, Japan, Spain, and South Korea. Over the last 3 decades, the proportion of those who report to be members of political parties in India has gone up steadily. The proportion of those who say they feel close to a political party has also gone up in India in this period. Now, let's move ahead and talk about the types of political parties. Children, democracies that follow a federal system all over the world tend to have 2 kinds of political parties. Parties that are present in only one of the federal units and the parties that are present in several or all units of the federation. This is the case in India as well. There are some country-wide parties which are called national parties. These parties have their units in various states, but by and large, all these units follow the same policies, programs and strategy that is decided at the national level. Every party in the country has to register with the Election Commission. While the Commission treats all parties equally, it offers some special facilities to large and established parties. These parties are given a unique symbol. Only the official candidates of that party can use that election symbol. Parties that get this privilege and some other special facilities are recognized by the Election Commission for this purpose. That is why these parties are called recognized political parties. The Election Commission has laid down detailed criteria of the proportion of votes and seats that a party must get in order to be a recognized party. A party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as a state party. A party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in Lok Sabha elections or assembly elections in 4 states and wins at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha is recognized as a national party. So children, that was all for today. Now it's time to take up a few questions to see how much you have understood. First, we have some questions with options and you have to see which is the correct option. The first question is, political parties are allotted symbols by, and the options are the Government of India, the Constitution of India, the party leaders, or the Election Commission. And the correct option is the Election Commission. Now the second question. A recognized political party is one that, and the options are, is registered with the Election Commission of India, is given a unique symbol, gets some other facilities recognized by the Election Commission, or all of these. And the correct option is yes, all of these. Now the third question. The number of political parties registered with the Election Commission of India is 750, 705, more than 750, or less than 750. And the correct option is more than 750. Very good. Now let's take up the next question. Which party is allowed to rule in China? And the options are Socialist Party, Communist Party, Liberal Party, or Maoist Party. And the correct option is yes, Communist Party. Now we have some sentences and you have to tell whether these sentences are true or false. The first sentence is, even less educated citizens know about political parties. So children, is it true or false? Yes, it is true. The second sentence is, parties have become identified with social and political divisions. And this sentence again is true. Let's take up the third sentence. Most people in a democracy are not critical of political parties. And this sentence is false because people are generally critical of political parties. The last sentence is, political parties have two main components, that is, the leaders and the followers. So children, is it true? No, this is false because political parties have three and not two main components. And which are those components? The leaders, the active members, and the followers. Yes. So children, with this we come to the end of today's lesson. I'm sure you liked it and got to know a great deal about political parties and their role in a democracy. That's all for today. We shall carry this lesson forward in the next video and talk about various national and regional political parties in India. We shall also look at what is wrong with political parties and what can be done about it. Now it's time for me to say goodbye. I'll see you soon with the second part of the lesson. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy.